Imagine you just found out that you've been getting cheated on by your spouse. Not only that, but the person they've been cheating on you with is your best friend.
Jesus Christ.
So you're kind of a mess, and you're doom scrolling, and maybe your algorithm is kind of picked up by now that you're going through some shit. So it's giving you the breakup content. It's giving you the cheating content. And then a video pops up by some chick calling herself the other woman. Like, proudly. And so maybe you give in to the rage bait a little bit and you're like, you know what? What does the other woman have to say? And maybe you listen. So this other woman, she starts reading these text messages from one of her clients because, get this, she's got a whole community of other women. They call themselves the other women community. And as she's reading these text messages, all seeming to come from one person who's been cheated on, discussing the depraved, horrible nature of the betrayal they experienced, it slowly, eerily, sickeningly creeps in that these text messages are your text messages.
Oh my God.
Not similar to your text messages, not similar to your situation. These are verbatim, word for word, text messages that you sent about the cheating you experienced, and someone sent them to this woman. This all might sound like some fake Reddit story I found, but in a truth is sometimes stranger than fiction twist, this is actually a very real public case and one of the craziest updates to a woman that I have covered in the past. Chelsea Smallwood, also known as the other woman and the wife. Yes, Chelsea owns and operates the Other Women community, which is basically like a Cheaters Anonymous, except no one's actually really anonymous, and there's definitely no God there. And if you don't remember my coverage of Chelsea Smallwood, she can basically just be summed up pretty easily in this one video. This comment reads, "As someone who's been cheated on, I have zero respect for those who engage in affairs."
As someone who has cheated on someone, I don't care. But, you know, good for you. Hope you're working through it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do we already hate her? I decided to cover Chelsea when I found her entire page dedicated to bragging about how not only she had an affair on her own husband for several years with another married man, but that she started an entire business coaching other women to do the same. Or at least how to not feel bad when they do the same. Or even better than that, how to gaslight their husbands into thinking they're not doing the same. Or who can forget her client's favorite, how to repaint the narrative so that it kind of seems like you didn't even really do anything wrong. See, Chelsea claims that her company is necessary for helping women heal from experiencing infidelity.
Wow. Okay.
That's right. It's not that you're a cheater who cheated on someone you promised not to cheat on. It's just something that you happened to experience. Well, it's honestly a fair business model because no one's gonna validate your cheating for free. Sorry, but if you want to be told you're still a good girl who simply made a little oopsie after deciding to bury your coworker's heat-seeking moisture missile in your beaver for several years on end behind your husband's back, you're gonna have to pay somebody $78 per quarter for that. And one of my personal biggest issues with Chelsea's platform isn't just that she's enabling and validating cheating, but the way that she creates this expertly woven gaslighting terminology to teach to her clients so that they can get away with saying shit like, "Oh, I'm not a cheater, I was just finding myself." No, you're not a cheater. You're just someone who happened to fall in love with someone who's not your husband and then acted on it over and over again, duplicitously. And no, you didn't wreck a home. You were helping that wife realize that her husband wasn't the right one for her. When you actually look at the content posted by the other women, it's very easy to pick apart and criticize. And it becomes very clear that if you actually are looking to heal after experiencing infidelity, this is not the place to do it. Because first and foremost, Chelsea Smallwood is not a licensed therapist. She's just a woman who had an affair. That does not actually make her an expert. I can sympathize with the fact that a person who had an affair might want to see someone who's also been there to avoid that kind of anticipated scrutiny. But the truth of the matter is, if you go to any therapist and tell them that you cheated, even if they don't specialize in affairs, they're going to hold the same type of judgment-free space for you to heal in as any of Chelsea's coaches would. And by the way, when I say coaches, I'm simply referring to other people who cheated and now want to profit off of it. A little bit different than a licensed therapist, I'm sure you can imagine. Therapists are also legally bound by HIPAA and privacy health laws, which coaches are not, so therapists can actually protect you, but we'll get more into that later. Second, not only does Chelsea lack the credentials and protections to properly care for you, her advice is also just terrible. I've listened to her advice on her podcasts, and she's out here telling these side pieces they actually have a chance with these married men. I guess her whole shtick is, I got my affair partner to leave his wife and by proxy his kids in a foreign country, and you can too. And yes, you heard me correctly. Her husband, Stan, the Stanimal, the whole prize, I guess here, did indeed abandon his 2 children he had before Chelsea in a completely different country. Father of the Year. And because of her success story, she now feeds her clients this pipe dream that you too can have an affair on your spouse with another married man for years and it'll all work out sunshine and rainbows. She just always makes sure to leave out the part about the abandoned kids in China when talking about the sunshine and rainbows. We're also just gonna leave out the fact that married people don't ever leave their spouse for the affair partner. Maybe 1 time out of 10. And when they do, congrats, you want a cheater? So like, I still wouldn't recommend it, but she's doing it. She's trying to create this community of like-minded cheaters so that they can have this circle jerk echo chamber, I guess. Basically, this is where all the Ashley Madison people went after all of the Ashley Madison info got leaked. And if you never heard of Ashley Madison was a dating website created specifically for married people to discreetly cheat on their spouses. Well, it only stayed discreet for so long before a team of anonymous vigilante hackers busted into the website and revealed every single name and the information of every person who signed up. There's a whole documentary about it, highly recommend. And this is the perfect place to segue into today's huge breaking update in the other woman world. Because if a multi-million-dollar company with an entire cybersecurity team couldn't protect their cheating clientele's information, what in the world makes you think some cheating pick-me with a podcast is gonna do any better? Well, she can't. And she didn't. She can't protect her clients' information to save her ass. So back in January 2024, Chelsea posted a video that was interesting. I actually did find this video when researching for my original video on Chelsea, but I didn't have enough context to understand what she was even talking about, so I didn't cover it. Now I do, so I'm going to show you that video and then explain everything that she's talking about, everything that's happened since, and everything that's happening right now.
I feel as though something that I created to be helpful to society was harmful when it was in the hands of someone that it wasn't intended for. That is awful. And I am so very sorry that anything I created had a negative impact on anybody.
No, you're
not. A lot of
not.
you have reached out and offered me support considering the events of last week, and I wanted to give everyone an update as I'm still reeling from it all. My intention was never to put anyone in danger with this venture, and while my intent was not that, certainly the impact was. So I'm a little bit devastated.
Oh, you are.
A lot of it devastated about that, and I'm working through it, and I couldn't even muster up the energy to create new content for next week because I've been consumed. I've been consumed with fear, anxiety, all of the things. If anyone has beef with me, take it up with me. Don't cause unnecessary harm to people who are not in control of my content at all. At all.
So you might be wondering, oh my God, what has poor cheating Chelsea been made the victim of now? I mean, she's talking as though something terrible happened to her that she couldn't have possibly prevented or avoided. Well, what I have learned is that this video was the direct aftermath of someone posting an entire website expose on Chelsea and all of her clientele. That's right. They did indeed get Ashley Madisoned. They had names, they had pictures, and they had spouses to contact. See, someone, a person that we still are not sure of and haven't identified, ended up posting a website called exposingtheotherwomanandthewife.com. I wasn't able to get any screenshots of the website, and I wasn't able to find any screenshots of it on the way back machine either, but according to some individuals who did see it, it basically did exactly what the Ashley Madison expose set out to do: to name and shame Chelsea Smallwood's cheating clients who felt so confident coming online and bragging about their endeavors. As it turns out, the other woman in the wife community is really shit at protecting your privacy. And so that's what Chelsea is referring to when she admits that she caused a lot of people harm. It's not lost on me that the only people she's worried about harming are the cheaters and not all of the betrayed spouses whose information they were just freely sharing within her community, but she does address that she's caused harm. Now, do I feel bad for these cheaters? Absolutely not. They f***ed around and found out, and I love that for them. But I am saying that if you are a cheater and you think this might be a safe space for you, it definitely isn't. And this is exactly why cheating Chelsea, her little cheating business, and her creepy cheating cohorts are being sued in the most satisfying way. And don't you worry, I have all the receipts for us to go over today. So this actually all started with Chelsea recklessly suing someone first. After the expose website was published, Chelsea began desperately trying to search through her past and present clients, trying to figure out who could have been behind this. But again, Chelsea doesn't have like an internal investigation team or anything. She's just one unfaithful lady with a podcast who you're trusting all of your deepest and darkest secrets to. So without a proper team or any cybersecurity analysis, Chelsea pretty much just had her gut instinct to rely off of, and she used that gut instinct to incessantly target one woman named Kristen. See, at the time of this happening, and allegedly to this day, members were allowed to join anonymously, and this is something that Kristen, a betrayed spouse, chose to do. She chose to do this when she overheard Chelsea reading her own private text messages and wanted to know how she could have possibly obtained them. A fair reason to join, in my opinion. And ultimately, what drew so much of Chelsea's suspicion was that Kristen was one of these women who joined anonymously. Heavy on the was, because now she's involved in one of the most bizarre, unhinged public lawsuits I have ever seen in my life, the details of which will have you going, Lauren, no, it couldn't possibly get any worse. It gets worse? Because you literally just told me that this lady cheated on her dude for years, with a dude who'd been cheating on his lady for years. A lady who he had multiple children with, who he just left his kids behind, and now she's trying to make a business off of this affair. And you're telling me it gets worse? Yes. So much worse. And then so much worse than that. Let's get into it. So first of all, I don't know Kristen, but from everything that I've gathered, it seems as though she has denied making this website from day one. At first, I didn't understand why Chelsea would target this one individual or assume that she, of all people, did this, but these court documents and the responses explain everything in such a crazier way than you are even expecting. Okay, so the first action taken, as we see on October 24th, Chelsea Smallwood originally files a complaint against Kristen. Plaintiff, the Other Woman and the Wife, LLC, is a California limited liability corporation. Defendant Kristen Jacobs is an individual and resident of Miami County, Ohio. Plaintiff operates an online support community for women healing following an experience with infidelity. Defendant, upon information and belief, was the spouse of a partner who engaged in infidelity with a member of plaintiff's online community. Okay, pieces are starting to be connected now. Defendant, with an objective and intention of identifying and exposing the woman who had been involved with her partner, joined plaintiff's online subscription-only community under false pretenses and with false identification. So I've never joined this group, but I've looked into it, and you don't have to state your pretenses. You can join either as a cheater, as someone who's been cheated on, or just someone who's curious, and you are still, to this day, allowed to join anonymously. So I don't know what she means by that. Defendant then, with full knowledge that the community was a subscription-based platform, sought to spew misinformation about the plaintiff, its founder, and its objectives. Additionally, defendant also sought to uncover and expose members of the subscription-only community, their children, and other family details in a conscientious effort to interfere with the operations of the online community and to threaten and intimidate its members. Some bold claims. Gonna hope we have some evidence attached. Gonna really hope we have some evidence attached here. I'm not seeing anything attached though yet so far. Now again, I don't have any screenshots, but from what the website was described to me as, doesn't sound like there were any children posted. However, the closest thing that I can even gather to whoever made this website posting about someone's children is that whoever posted the website, I guess, posted a picture that Chelsea had posted publicly representing her own children's school. And so whoever made this website was trying to point out the fact that Chelsea was not doing a very good job protecting anyone's school or private information by wearing the school's logo so publicly connected to her business. Again, any involvement of children due to Chelsea posting her own children publicly doesn't fall on Kristen, and it doesn't fall on whoever made the website, who is not Kristen. Defendant, in fact, was partly successful in these endeavors, as the defendant's breach of the confidential members-only online community required that the online community be taken down for a period of time, causing the plaintiff to incur substantial loss of subscription-based revenue and having to issue refunds. Ultimately, defendant was able to be identified based upon the credit card information she had submitted when joining the online community under false pretenses. Once the defendant's identity was discovered, a cease and desist notice was sent to the defendant, but she has failed and refused to respond to same. So it sounds like Kristen decided to join this community after believing that her personal information was being shared to the community through Chelsea's own public TikToks. Then, after joining, Kristen confirms that indeed her personal information was being shared in Chelsea's community. I've got to imagine there was some kind of confrontation, hence leading Chelsea to believe that Kristen must be the one behind this. But does she have a case against Kristen? This reads, a contract exists between the plaintiff and each of its online community members. Defendant, who infiltrated plaintiff's online members-only community, was aware of the contract relationship and the fee-based membership. She keeps saying infiltrated, like Chelsea plainly states that you're allowed to join if you're the cheater or the betrayed spouse. So I don't know where she thinks that she's getting off here, saying that she didn't have a reason to join. Like, infiltrated implies she broke in. She paid the membership fee. That's all you have to do. Defendant, through her conscientious actions, intentionally sought to procure the breach of plaintiff's online membership contracts by threatening, intimidating, and forcing other members to leave the community for fear of exposure of their identities and or personal safety. Okay, again, Simply prove that she made the website, and then maybe, just maybe, you know, I just gotta stop talking. I'll just keep reading it. Defendant lacked any justification and or basis to procure these breaches. As a direct and proximate result of the defendant's actions, plaintiff has suffered damages, the amount of which has not been presently determined, but will be more fully determined at trial. Plaintiff has an established business online community and established relationships with multiple individual fee-paying members. Defendant, who fraudulently joined plaintiff's online support group, was fully aware of the membership agreement. After joining plaintiff's online community, defendant intentionally took action to interfere with plaintiff's business relationships with its members and to procure breaches of existing membership agreements and members through her threats to expose and through her efforts to intimidate plaintiff's members. Defendant lacked any privilege or justification for her actions. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's actions, plaintiff has been damaged in an amount not yet determined, but to be more fully proven at trial. Wherefore, plaintiff demands judgment in its favor against the defendant as follows. On plaintiff's first cause of action, damages in an amount yet to be determined, punitive damages for the defendant's intentional actions. On plaintiff's second cause of action, damages in an amount yet to be determined, punitive damages, interest, court cost, and plaintiff's reasonable attorney's fees, as well as any other relief at law or equity this court deems just and proper. And that's it. That's the entire submission. No other evidence submitted by Chelsea or her team. Nothing. No connecting IP address to the website that was posted. No connecting emails that link the website that was posted to Kristen. Just basically saying what this entire lawsuit basically says is, I think she did it and I'm mad that she did it and she needs to pay me some amount of money that I'm not sure how much it is. Like, if Kristen really did these things, you would think that we would have messages to other members warning them that they need to leave, the actual threats as text messages or something. We have nothing. We have no evidence whatsoever submitted here. Now, Chelsea's original filing was stupid enough, but Kristen's response to it destroys her. It is what I can only describe as the Mortal Kombat fatality of legal responses, and I cannot wait to regale you with it. So as you can see, Kristen bites back by not only filing her own response, but her own countersuit against not only the Other Woman and the Wife LLC, but Chelsea Smallwood as an individual and her little cheating coach, Olivia Nicodemus, as an individual. Okay, so this first part is basically Kristen saying that this should have gone to arbitration, which she'll explain a little bit clearly on why later. And this is what a typical response looks like. You basically have to confirm or deny every single thing point for point that they lay out. Kristen admits that the plaintiff operates an online support community, but denies that the community is for women healing following and experienced with infidelity. Kristen admits that she anonymously joined plaintiff's online subscription-only community as permitted on plaintiff's website and denies all remaining allegations in paragraph 5. Kristen admits that she used her credit card to join plaintiff's online community and denies that she joined the community under false pretenses. Kristen denies all remaining allegations in paragraph 9 for lack of knowledge or information sufficient to form a belief as to the truth or falsity of those allegations. This is a lot of denying accusations. Let's get to the good stuff. This is basically Kristen just saying, I didn't do this shit and I'm not paying you. Now, we'll see here, this says the court lacks jurisdiction to resolve this dispute because plaintiff agreed to arbitrate the claims asserted in this matter. We're gonna get into this. I thought it was kind of interesting that Chelsea didn't quote any of her own terms and conditions that Kristen seemed to violate in her original filing, but Kristen brings up the original terms and conditions, and apparently there are a lot of things that Chelsea just disregards in her own privacy policy. Plaintiff cannot show that Kristen intentionally interfered with any contract or business relationships and that she lacked justification to do so. I thought this one was interesting. Plaintiff's claims are barred by the doctrine of unclean hands and its own bad acts. What does that even mean? Okay, barred by the doctrine of unclean hands and its own bad acts means that a party in a legal case is prevented from receiving relief from the court because of their own misconduct, directly related to the subject matter of the lawsuit, is considered to be unethical, that it disqualifies them from seeking equitable remedies. Essentially, they cannot ask for justice when they have acted improperly themselves. All right, let's go. Plaintiff failed to take reasonable steps to protect itself from damages, if any, and failed to mitigate any such damages. Again, essentially saying Chelsea did this to herself. Plaintiff's complaint fails because the alleged damages incurred or suffered by plaintiff, in whole or in part, were not proximately caused by any act or omission or failure of Kristen. Plaintiff's damages are caused by individuals other than Kristen, aka ya damn dumb self, Chelsea. Plaintiff has not suffered any injury or damage as a result of any conduct of Kristen. To the extent that plaintiff is injured, plaintiff's injuries are not foreseeable or were the result of an intervening or superseding cause. Plaintiff engaged in spoliation. I have to Google a lot of stuff. Spoliation is the act of destroying, altering, or mutilating evidence that is relevant to a legal proceeding. Ah, so you got rid of some shit, Chelsea. The injuries and damages alleged in the complaint, if any, are the direct and proximate results of acts and omissions of plaintiff and its agents, officers, and/or employees. These are just a lot of different ways of saying, Chelsea, this is literally all your fault. And ultimately, prayer for relief, wherefore Kristen denies that she is liable to plaintiff for any of the requests for relief set forth in the wherefore claims of the complaint, including all subparts. Kristen requests this court compel this dispute to arbitration, or in the alternative, a state or federal court in Kings County, New York, find that the plaintiff take nothing on its claims against Kristen, including a finding that plaintiff is not entitled to punitive damages, dismiss plaintiff's complaint with prejudice and deny plaintiff any and all relief requested in the complaint, enter judgment in favor of Kristen, and award Kristen her reasonable attorney's fees, costs, and any other relief, legal or equitable, that this court deems appropriate. What's up? Now let's get into the countersuit. Because this is where you guys are going to want to like sit down and have some water on hand, maybe like a shot. And like, if you weren't already team Kristen, you're going to be so team Kristen soon. Kristen Jacobs' counterclaims and third-party complaints. This action arises from the malicious and unseemly conduct of defendant, the Other Woman and the Wife, LLC, its owner and founder, Chelsea Smallwood, and its agent and employee, Olivia Nicodemus. Defendant TOW and third-party defendants Chelsea and Olivia, collectively defendants, have engaged in a campaign to harass, embarrass, and cause extreme mental distress to plaintiff Kristen Jacobs. Instead of acknowledging that Kristen is the victim of Olivia's affair with Kristen's husband, defendants seek to further victimize Kristen by violating her privacy and publicly posting intimate details of the affair on social media platforms, such as TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, in order to increase membership of TOW and otherwise profit from defendants' bad acts. Defendants should not be permitted to further victimize and profit off of Kristen's trauma. Background: Defendant, the Other Woman, is an online subscription-based community whose purpose is to support women in their healing journey after infidelity. Specifically, though, the Other Woman. In the fall of 2023, the Other Woman made no effort to interview or screen members. Upon payment of a subscription fee, anyone could become a member of the Other Woman. Members were also permitted to join anonymously. The Other Woman utilizes two subscription levels: the community subscription for $78 per quarter and the premium subscription for $98 per quarter. In September 2023, Kristen joined the Other Woman's community subscription. She agreed to be bound by the Other Woman Terms of Service, contract terms, a copy of which is attached in Exhibit 1. And in fact, defendant, the Other Woman's contract terms require arbitration of any dispute arising from the use of the Other Woman. And in fact, it clearly states here, arbitration notice, except for certain kinds of disputes described in Section 15. You agree that disputes arising under the terms will be resolved by binding individual arbitration, and by accepting these terms, you and community owner are each waiving the right to a trial by jury or to participate in any class action or representative proceeding. And so you might be thinking like, okay, well, there is an exception. Maybe this isn't one of the exceptions. No, let's keep reading. Arbitration uses a neutral arbitrator instead of a judge or jury, is less formal than a court proceeding, may allow for more limited discovery than in court, and is subject to very limited review by courts. This agreement to arbitrate disputes includes all claims, whether based in contract, tort, statute, fraud, misrepresentation, or other legal theory, which is what Chelsea was citing in her original filing. This is just wild to me that Chelsea herself in her own agreement said if there's any issues of tort or misrepresentation or any of the things that I'm accusing Kristen of, it's supposed to go right to arbitration, no jury trial. And yet, here she is denying arbitration and demanding jury trial. What a bitch. Defendant the other woman's contract terms further provide that the arbitration is to be administered by JAMS, and that prior to doing so, a notice of arbitration will be provided to the offending party and include 1, the name of the account or account number of the complaining party, 2, a description of the nature and basis of the claim, and 3, a specific demand for relief. That's so funny. As you may remember, Chelsea also failed to provide any sort of specific demand for relief whatsoever. Chelsea and rules just don't seem to align. Just like with marriage, she's like, hey, let's have some rules that we agree to and bind ourselves to so that I can just ignore all of them. Defendant the other woman has ignored the arbitration provision by, among other things, filing this lawsuit and failing to engage in any good faith efforts with Kristen prior to filing suit in Miami County. Kristen, through her counsel, contacted the other woman's counsel to have this matter transferred to arbitration, but was unsuccessful in her efforts. Also, it's not lost on anyone else how absolutely insane constantly actually referring to an entire person in a lawsuit as the other woman is, right? Like, she might as well have just named her business Cheating Whore LLC, so this could be like, Kristen, through her counsel, attempted to contact Cheating Whores Counsel. Now we're getting into Olivia's abuse of Kristen. Third-party defendant Olivia is Kristen's neighbor, and until August 2023, Kristen considered Olivia to be a close friend and confidant. In the spring of 2023, Kristen confided in Olivia that she believed her husband was engaged in an affair. Around the same time, Kristen began to see a therapist for counseling on her concerns about an extramarital affair. By the summer of 2023, Kristen was suspicious that third-party defendant Olivia was the other woman and confronted Olivia with her suspicions. Olivia denied the accusation. Under the guise of trying to find a therapist for herself, Olivia asked Kristen for the contact information for Kristen's therapist. Kristen provided the information and Olivia visited the therapist. However, instead of seeking professional services for herself, Olivia attempted to convince the therapist that she was not participating in an affair with Kristen's husband. Olivia lied to Kristen's therapist in order to continue the affair and to interfere with Kristen's treatment. Yo, I've heard of cheating. I've even heard of people cheating with their best friend's man. But going to her therapist just to expedite the gaslighting, to have even her therapist convincing her there's no affair, that is beyond Disney villain level. In August 2023, Kristen confirmed her worst suspicions. After months of Olivia's gaslighting, she learned that her husband was engaged in an affair with Olivia. By August 25th, 2023, the affair had ended. On or about September 11th, 2023, Kristen discovered a video on TikTok that was created by Chelsea and disclosed intimate details of the affair. Specifically, Chelsea was reading a text conversation between Kristen and Olivia and depicted Kristen, the victim of the affair, in a negative or false light. Kristen considered the affair to be a private and personal matter, and the affair was not publicly known. After viewing the video, Kristen soon learned of the defendant, the other woman's private online community for women affected by infidelity. Kristen joined the other woman's private community anonymously. In doing so, she relied on the other woman's frequently asked questions section, which provides for anonymity by allowing members to join without the use of their real name, while paying the subscription fee with their actual name and credit card information. When joining the other woman's online community, its members, Kristen and Olivia, agreed that the following conduct is prohibited: using the community for any illegal purpose or in violation of any local, state, national, or international law, to harass, threaten, demean, embarrass, bully, or otherwise harm any other user of the community, to attempt to do any of the acts described, or assist or permit any person attempting to engage in any of the acts described. Defendant, the other woman, promised to investigate any allegation by a user of the other woman that another user is in violation of. Immediately upon joining the other woman's private community, Kristen learned that Olivia shared private and intimate details of her affair with Kristen's husband, including that Olivia engaged in intimate moments while Kristen was asleep in the same room, and that Olivia used Kristen's sex toys while Kristen was away for work. I'm sorry, you what? Nah, because that's actually going to fall under the umbrella of like sexual assault to me. I'm not even playing. You invaded somebody sexually without their consent by using their sex toy without their permission. That's 100% what you did, Olivia. That's not harmless. You're going to throw off her whole pH balance by giving this poor girl a UTI or a bladder infection because that's just so nasty. I don't need to explain how nasty that is. And you bragged about this online? You paid to brag about this online? And these other women didn't judge you for that? They actually hired you to further coach after you posted that shit? Olivia, that is degenerate as f. These disclosures began at least in March of 2023 and include, but are not limited to, conversations between Kristen and Olivia discussing the affair. So you're telling me months and months and months after this affair ends, this bitch is still out here paying hundreds of dollars to continue to talk about it and continue to post all this lady's information. That's some 48-hour shit, dude. Olivia also shared private and personal information about Kristen that she learned because Kristen considered Olivia to be a close friend, including intimate details about Kristen's relationship with her husband and results of a test for a sexually transmitted disease, which was only necessitated because of the affair. In addition to sharing private and intimate details of the affair, Olivia shared photographs of Kristen's family, including her minor child, and information about where Kristen and her family live. Third-party defendant Olivia also revealed through her postings that she was spying on Kristen. In one post on the other woman's website, Olivia boasted of using binoculars to spy on an intimate sexual moment that Kristen and her husband shared within the privacy of their private property. So jail. Olivia belongs in jail is what I'm understanding, because a man could never get away with this. A man would reasonably and rightfully be on a list. Third-party defendant Olivia used the other woman's community to cast Kristen in a false and negative light to justify her betrayal. For example, Olivia falsely identified Kristen as a member of a throuple and falsely stated that Kristen has a sexually transmitted disease. These are grown women with children joining online mean girls groups to bully people behind their backs and say things like, well, I bet she has herpes. This is the nastiest work, dude. Olivia additionally used the other woman's community to make threats against Kristen and her family. Olivia did not make any efforts to conceal or protect Kristen's identity. The other woman and Chelsea profit from sharing Kristen's private information. Instead of monitoring and enforcing their policies protecting the privacy rights of others, the other woman and Chelsea pursued a plan to profit from Kristen's private pain and suffering. Since at least September of 2023, Chelsea used text messages and other private information shared by Olivia through the other woman, and she created content for the other woman's social media platforms. Chelsea made at least a dozen videos, and she also published comments in the social media chat features disclosing the personal and intimate information shared by Olivia. These videos were posted on social media websites such as TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Chelsea also made statements about Kristen that are blatantly false in an effort to disparage Kristen, such as falsely accusing Kristen of having a sexually transmitted disease, as being a participant in a throuple, that she invited the other woman into her bedroom, that Kristen bullied or harassed members of Chelsea's community, including Olivia, and that Kristen doxed or created fake social media accounts to harass Chelsea or members of the other woman community. And that's another thing that's so funny to me, is that Chelsea thinks that Kristen is the only person in the world mad at her and that she's single-handedly behind every single account criticizing her. Like, girl, just put 2 and 2 together. We hate cheaters. Everybody hates cheaters. No one's really on your side like that. You know this. You know this. Why are you lost in the delusion that Kristen is the only person who could possibly want to criticize you? Babes, we all hate you. All of us. We all hate you. Chelsea did not make any effort to protect Kristen's or her family's identity. Indeed, members of Chelsea's community refer to Kristen in comments on content related and unrelated to content that Chelsea created about Olivia's affair with Kristen's husband. And I can't believe that that wouldn't be common knowledge. Like, I don't know what it's like to try to create a private group for cheaters to talk about all the cheating they do, but I've got to imagine that if I did, it would just be common sense to tell people, hey, don't post pictures of other people who are involved in these situations. Maybe don't post full names. Maybe definitely don't post any children, no matter what. I feel like that's a very easy, simple rule that you would want to enforce. Like, it shouldn't come to this to consider something like that. Chelsea's videos and posts were seen by members of Kristen's community. Upon information and belief, the other woman profits from engagement on its social media pages. I can promise you they do. Stated differently, the other woman used Kristen's trauma as clickbait to encourage interactions with the other woman's TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram pages. 100% correct. Chelsea made these posts maliciously and with reckless disregard of the privacy rights of Kristen. As a result of defendants' relentless campaign to harass and threaten Kristen on social media, Kristen continued to receive treatment for the severe emotional and mental distress caused by defendants' malicious acts. The other woman and Chelsea threatened Kristen. Incredibly, in November 2023, Chelsea sent an email accusing Kristen of engaging in harassing behavior and threatening legal action if she did not cease such actions. In another email, Kristen was falsely accused of misappropriating the other woman's intellectual property. Now, ain't that some shit? Just imagine that you go on this website and find photos of yourself and your children posted. So you take a screenshot of that, you send it to Chelsea, and you go, hey, can you not post pictures of me and my children? And then she sues you for taking a screenshot of your own children, trying to claim that that's her intellectual property.
Wow.
And that's the reality that we're literally dealing with right now. Through the other woman's social media pages, Chelsea falsely accused Kristen of bullying, doxing, releasing information about members of the other woman, and creating fake accounts to harass members of the other woman's community. In addition, Chelsea sent Kristen's therapist a letter. I'm sorry, this bitch did what? She did what now? Chelsea sent Kristen's therapist a letter containing the same false and disparaging information about Kristen in an effort to interfere with the medical treatment and counseling Kristen sought in response to defendants' harassment and online bullying. Chelsea Smallwood speedrunning the deranged woman Olympics, dude. In response to Chelsea's threats, Kristen requested that information identifying herself and her family be removed from the other woman's community and social media, as it should have been without being asked, quite frankly. Why does someone need to ask you to take pictures of children off your Cheater's Paradise website? Kristen also informed Chelsea of Olivia's threats and harassment on the other woman's community. Chelsea refused to remove the content and did not investigate Olivia's behavior on the other woman. Instead, Chelsea and the other woman continued their malicious conduct with utter disregard for Kristen's privacy and mental condition. For example, in January of 2024, Chelsea made a video bragging of contacting Kristen's therapist and provided one of her followers with the therapist's contact information, then accused Kristen of creating fake accounts to harass Chelsea. What in the goddamn hell is this I'm gonna weaponize my following to tell your therapist on you bullshit? As a result of Chelsea and the other woman's social media posts, Kristen has received threatening messages from Chelsea's community and has since had to remove the comment feature from her social media pages and make her social media pages private. As a direct and proximate result of defendants' malicious bullying, harassment, and false representations, Kristen experiences mental and physical suffering, as well as harm to her reputation. Now here's where Kristen files a cause of action for breach of contract. Kristen joined the other woman's online community by paying the subscription fee, and Kristen complied with all of the conditions associated with the contract terms. The other woman, Chelsea, and Olivia violated the terms and conditions and engaged in over a year-long campaign to harass, bully, embarrass, and demean Kristen through the other woman's online community. Despite informing Chelsea of the harassing and inappropriate content on this community, Chelsea refused to investigate and take any action to remediate the behavior. As a direct and proximate result of the other woman's actions, Kristen is harmed and entitled to recover compensatory damages. Despite knowing that Kristen was the victim of an affair, defendants depict Kristen in a false and negative light on the online community and their social media pages. Defendants make such false depictions in order to generate clickbait to gain membership and social media followers. And these are all valid motives that she's laying out here. Defendant's false depiction of Kristen is offensive to a reasonable person. Agree. Defendant's actions are done maliciously, knowingly, and with reckless disregard, and they are falsely depicting Kristen. As a direct and proximate result, Kristen is damaged. Kind of a lot of the same stuff here. They're shaming her, they're ridiculing her, this was done maliciously. And then here we get into the intrusion of privacy claims. Third-party defendant Olivia intentionally intruded upon Kristen's right to seclusion on her own property by surveilling Kristen's home, which is her private property. Third-party defendant Olivia spied on intimate moments, including sexual acts, and published the details of such moments in the other woman community. Defendant the other woman and third-party defendant Chelsea also published those intimate details on their social media pages. Defendants also intruded upon Kristen's marriage, which she is entitled to privacy. Defendants did not take any action to protect the identity of Kristen. Defendants' actions are highly offensive to a reasonable person. Defendants' actions were done with the intent to shame and humiliate Kristen. Absolutely agree. As a direct and proximate result, Kristen is harmed. Yes, absolutely. Kind of a lot of the same stuff here. This states that they knowingly made defamatory statements about Kristen. And then in regard to intentional infliction of emotional distress, defendants knew or should have known that by continuously posting intimate details about Kristen's marriage, intimate details of Olivia's affair, and contacting Kristen's medical provider, that Kristen would suffer from serious emotional distress. This is actually the most sound case for intentional infliction of emotional distress I think I've ever seen in my life, quite frankly. Like, this is such potent bullying by such obvious pick-me bitch assholes. It couldn't be spelled out any clearer to me. And Chelsea thinks a jury is going to be on her side? Defendants' actions are extreme and outrageous and go beyond all bounds of decency and not tolerated in a civilized society. Full send. Now, I know that this isn't what she meant to put, but when it says Kristen suffered psychic injury, honestly, I'm gonna give it to her. Like, these people literally cause psychic damage. And here we're kind of showing the different laws that permit an individual to recover civilly for harm caused by another's criminal actions, imposes criminal liability on an individual who knowingly makes a post on the internet that is made for the purpose of abusing, threatening, or harassing another. We've got a first-degree misdemeanor for a first offense and fifth-degree felony on subsequent offenses. every single one of which I hope these bitches are found guilty of. And ultimately, Kristen demands the following: compensatory damages, special damages, nominal damages and/or exemplary damages, injunctive relief, pre- and post-judgment interest, punitive damages, cost and reasonable attorney fees, and such other and further relief as this court deems appropriate. So like I said, unlike Chelsea, Kristen actually filed her suit with exhibits attached. And these exhibits, which are Chelsea's own terms of service, ended up being the linchpin in this case, the nail in Chelsea's coffin, because all we have to do is open up her own privacy policy and scroll down just a wee little bit until we get to other members of the community, where we read clear as day: if you provide or share information with other members of the community, they may use it for their own purposes. If you post information or content, such as by posting photos, commenting on a blog, or participating in the community, or when you interact with the community through social media sites, plugins, or other applications, depending upon your privacy settings, this information may become public on the internet. We cannot prevent further use of this information. You can control what data you share through privacy settings available on some social media sites. So there we have it, folks. It sounds like the very thing that Kristen didn't even do is perfectly allowed by Chelsea's own privacy policy anyway. Meaning, even if Kristen did make this website posting the things that these community members posted to it, she would be allowed to, because Chelsea allows anybody to do this, because her community is not secure and not safe. Chelsea, you literally tell members when they join that they're allowed to expose each other. You literally wrote it right there. So how is Chelsea feeling now that her client's information has been leaked and her business has been exposed for there being absolutely no reason for anybody to trust her as a safe space for anyone to go? Well, according to Chelsea, business is booming. Here's one of her latest TikToks.
When people come into my comment section and they're like, oh my God, you're not a girl's girl. I'm like, duh, my network is exclusive. This is crazy that you guys, virtue signal, I'm a girl's girl and that's why I don't know. No. You just have a prejudice. You don't get my support because your dad and your mom somehow ended up in bed together and you received a certain gender. I will tell you whose girl I am, though. I'm Lisa's girl. I'm Anne-Marie's girl. I'm Olivia's girl. I'm Julie's girl. And I'm Cecilia's girl. And I booked their flights out to California to come and have a celebration with me because business is booming, people. It's fucking booming. And I love those girls because they were good humans. I'm a good human's human. That's what it comes down to. Not because of what sexual identity you are. And honestly, this kind of feels like a pre-retreat. I'm pretty fucking excited about it. We're gonna go spend some time on the beach and...
So much to unpack here. First of all, in regards to the whole whether or not you're a girl's girl thing, and then saying she doesn't care about your sexual identity, she knows that being a girl is not a sexual identity, right? Next, she's describing that she's a good human's human. And the good humans she's referring to are all cheaters who are joining her after paying her for a cheater retreat. But business is booming, apparently. Apparently, the number of cheaters who are happy to pay to be told, you're not that bad, is in full swing, people. And the comments on this are chef's kiss. I think you dropped this. Hate from Australia. Sending hate from Canada. I mean, I cannot think of many more embarrassing things than an entire retreat for cheaters to stroke each other's ego and make each other feel better about being cheaters. I mean, really think about this. You guys are paying this clout goblin to take your deepest, darkest stories of infidelity, use them for her own money and views, knowing that she's just gonna do nothing but shrug her shoulders when all of your dirty laundry that you aired to her in confidence ends up on your employer's desk. She don't give a about you. Next to cheating, joining the other woman community is the next dumbest thing you could do. And what's also so hilarious about this whole business is booming response and gotcha is that it literally does nothing but prove that this whole lawsuit is frivolous and that any damages she tries to claim are immaterial. She literally destroyed her own case before it even began. My final thoughts? I think it's hilarious that the other woman and the wife got Ashley Madison. I think it's hilarious that someone made an entire website outing these cheaters to all their friends and family. And I think it's hilarious that Chelsea thinks she even has a leg to stand on when she had every single one of her members agree legally that any single thing they post on there is open season for anyone else there to use for anything they want. It's not hilarious that Kristen became Chelsea's main target for blame just because one of Chelsea's coaches wants Kristen's man. And it's not hilarious that Chelsea would continue to abuse Kristen with this frivolous lawsuit based on no evidence whatsoever. I mean, Chelsea didn't submit a single piece of evidence that would even remotely suggest that Kristen was behind this website. Sorry guys, I'm just looking for literally any proof whatsoever. No matching IP addresses, no matching emails, no incriminating self-admissions. Just Chelsea deciding, I think she did it, so I'm gonna take food out of both of our children's mouths so that I can throw an adult temper tantrum in court. Look, cheating Chelsea, even if Kristen did make this website, which she didn't, you don't have a case. You alone, Chelsea, set yourself up for failure, something that you are no stranger to. You set yourself up for failure when you made marital vows you couldn't keep. You set yourself up for failure when you kept breaking your own heart waiting for a married man to finally leave his wife just to date you both like a loser for multiple years on end. You set yourself up for failure when you chose to marry and have children with a man who already cheated on his last wife and already abandoned his last children. And you set yourself up for failure when you built an entire business off of cheaters, knowing that you intended to suck those cheaters dry of all of their infidelity stories that you could use for your own profits, while also knowing that you have no power whatsoever to protect them, and that your business may very well end up being the very thing that leads to several of these people's discoveries of their affairs. That was all you. You're not going to win this case against Kristen. Not just because she's right and you're wrong. Not just because she has an army behind her and against you. But because cheaters and anyone who profits off of cheating will never be safe. You can keep running your little cheater community and people will keep exposing you. Is that a threat from me? Absolutely not. I have no interest in giving you any of my money when there's so much to roast you off of publicly for free. But it is a promise based on everything I've ever seen from the internet. Because Chelsea, the internet does what the internet's gonna do. So you can keep pretending that the lying, the gaslighting, and the destruction of self-confidence and self-worth that comes from an affair isn't abuse, but the rest of us, the rest of the reasonable and intellectually consistent world isn't gonna let you get away with it and isn't gonna make it easy for you. And you can pretend you did nothing wrong when you allowed one of your coaches, Olivia, to publish photos and information about Kristen, her innocent children, and even her mental health care provider. But at the end of the day, what you did was insidious and disgusting. And you can pretend that your friend Olivia's non-consensual use of Kristen's private and personal sex toys was somehow justifiable. But it was indeed a non-consensual sexual attack on Kristen that you endorsed. In conclusion, the other woman community is an unhinged cesspool of cheating predators. Like I said, I can understand why a cheater might be initially attracted to a group like this, but I am telling you, an actual licensed therapist will provide you a real safe space and real HIPAA protections. They're not going to use your story for a TikTok reel. I mean, not only does Chelsea fail to protect her clients, she also fails to protect her employees. Look what happened with Olivia. Ordinarily, you can't sue your spouse's affair partner for emotional damages. But because of Chelsea turning it into a business and making Olivia one of the employees of the business, she can. As it turns out, when you give your cheating a business entity and then break your own privacy policies, you can sue your man's side piece. Chelsea and Olivia were so pissed at Kristen for catching them red-handed that they tried to come at her with the most expensive and public lawsuit they possibly could to punish her. I guess forgetting that hundreds of thousands of people also hate her and everything she stands for, and that anyone could have made that website. I guess thinking if they attack Kristen enough, no one will ever come for them again. And yet, here I am. And yet, here's Rebel D, who also made an incredible hit piece on Chelsea. You gonna sue us all, Chelsea? Go ahead and try. You can send the subpoena right here. Now, in my personal opinion, the public details of the depraved nature of Olivia's actions can and should cause her to lose her real estate job, which is publicly listed on her public Facebook page, which is very easy to find considering how often she interacts with Chelsea Smallwood's public Facebook page. Still glad she's your girl now, Olivia? As the case stands now, the courts are still waiting for the Other Woman and the Wife LLC, Smallwood, and Nicodemus to reply, at which point the case can then be moved into discovery, where even more evidence of Smallwood's and Nicodemus's posts to the group will be shared as evidence. And if Chelsea has a single brain cell left in her head, she would drop this case because she doesn't have one. But when wisdom chases Chelsea, it cannot catch her. So here's what we're gonna do as kind of the anti-cheaters club. I'm gonna reach out to Kristen and see if we can get her set up with a GoFundMe so that she doesn't have to worry about these legal bills. And together, we're gonna help her fight Chelsea. For her children, who Olivia exposed for her sick and twisted games. For Stan's ex-wife and the children he abandoned. For Chelsea's ex-husband, who she used and abused for years, and for every single person who has ever been cheated on and gaslit to hell. There is no shot we're letting the other woman community win. But that brings us to the end of all of the updates to this insane situation that I have for you today. So please like this video so that we can get it out there in the algorithm. Subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to make it to 500,000 subscribers, and turn on the notification bell because I go live twice a week and you don't want to miss that. I will be keeping you guys posted with absolutely any updates that I can in the future. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end. It really does mean so much to me. I really can't wait to see Kristen get the justice that she deserves, and I can't wait to see Chelsea and Olivia get their booty cheeks spanked by all of you guys in the comments. Okay, I love you all. I will see you in the next one.